Ladies and gentlemen, please mind your ears for the 11 o'clock bell.
Splendid. Exactly why the men don't get a line in the morning. Now, welcome. My name is Lieutenant Fisher. I'm the gunnery officer on board, as well as 4th Lieutenant and currently Officer of the Day. So on behalf of Her Majesty and Captain Cochrane, I welcome you on board the Warrior. Specifically, I will welcome you here to the gun deck, home to 520 of the ratings. Now, not exactly crammed, we can fit the whole of the dusty Erratic Victory in here, with a few feet to spare, both length and width. You sit on board the Warrior, that has been built in a mere 18 months, for one reason, and one reason alone: the French. The joys of Napoleon III. Is it Napoleon III, ladies and gentlemen? Come on, Napoleon III! Thank you. Therefore, you as taxpayers have coughed up £490,000 to build this vessel, the equivalent of 1,000 brand new London homes, in a time of peace. They have built a ship called the Lagois. Don't let its name fool you, there's nothing glorious about the darn thing. It is a wooden ship, chainmail and iron strapped to the outside. Slow, sluggish, useless, much like the rest of their navy. Whereas we, the British Empire, have constructed the Warrior in 18 months, holding the title of the most heavily armed, the most heavily armoured, the fastest and the longest warship in the world by 120 foot, as well as being the first fully constructed of iron. The gun deck is also home to 2 classifications of guns. Astern and forward, we carry 10 of them on board. We have 110 pounders, the largest gun on board a ship anywhere in the world, doing 7 times the amount of damage as the French standard gun, which is a mere 32 pounder. Their largest gun, however, is a mere 50 pounder. With their maximum range of 1¼ miles and our maximum range of 2¼ miles, we can hit any other warship a mile before they can hit us. Our armour is constructed of 4½ inches of raw tile, 18 inches of teak mounted onto the iron hull. Any naval gun at point blank range will bounce clean off. This young lady is a 68-pound smoothbore muzzle-loading Whitworth gun, doing 5 times the amount of damage as the French 32s. Her name is broken down like so. A 68-pounder means the weight of the shot we're placing in weighs 68 pounds. Smoothbore. On the inside of the gun, there is no rifling, no grooves. Perfectly smooth. Muzzle loading, strangely enough, means that she loads from the muzzle, which is the hole at the far end. And Whitworth is her design. I will now take you through the joys of how we reload this gun, in which we carry 28 of on board the ship. The first thing we must assume is that the gun has been fired, she has recoiled, and then we can set about cleaning and cooling her. For that, we need our first tool, the waddock, here on the right and also above you here on the right. Now children, this may look like one of your parents' coping mechanisms, but I assure you it's not actually a corkscrew. But it does do a very similar job. You place it into the muzzle, you ram it home, and you twist as you go. The sharp spikes on the end grasp hold of any bits of linen or rope that are left over from the previous few firings. We don't clean the gun every single time. Now to cool her, this is done with this tool here. Centre, and suspended here. It is called the sponge. So can anybody guess for me what it's made of?
Sponge.
Sponge! Wrong! We would never name something so logically in the Royal Navy, I'm afraid. It is made of a sheepskin. This is just its canvas cover, keeping it nice and clean. It's dunked in a bucket of water. Those are buckets with a red numbered background. When she comes out, she's placed into the muzzle, so you hear a nice hissing noise. You can then ram her home, pushing it all the way down. As that is happening, the gun captain, the man in charge of the gun, holds his hand over the touch hole here. If he feels a breeze coming out of it, he knows the gun isn't blocked and that the reloading process may carry on. Once she has been pushed all the way down, the gun captain stops the vent by placing a plug into it. As the sponge is then removed, it forms a weak vacuum. Therefore, any embers left on the inside have now either been drowned or suffocated. We can now move on to loading the gun. As you wander up and down the gun deck, those of you with sharp eyes will notice that on each of the rangefinders we have different letters surrounding it. D, F and R. Distance, full, reduced are three main sizes of gunpowder charge. That is a 16-pound charge, a 12-pound charge and an 8-pound charge. You always start with a distance and then come back down from there. With her, let us assume that we take the distance charge, the 16 pounds of gunpowder, and it is placed into the muzzle at arm's length. When this ignites, it is so loud, we tell the men to keep their mouths open. Otherwise, some clench so hard they shatter their teeth. If the men are at quarters, they are expected to spit them out and carry on. Once she is in at arm's length, she will be rammed home. Now, with the explosion being so loud, luckily, gradual deafness isn't really a problem. Because when we issue the men shore leave and they go home, they can't hear the nagging. So it is swings and roundabouts. Once she is down, we then need to choose what we're going to be firing our rather slimy allies. We could, of course, go for the standard 68-pound round shot, or we can begin to spice things up a little by sending over a common shell. This explodes. For the maximum amount of damage of this, you want to punch it through the near side of the enemy ship, then the far side of the enemy ship, then for it to explode, bringing all the debris back inside the enemy craft. The biggest killer on a wooden ship are splinters. Not the ones that you get in your finger, but the ones that are bigger than my arms and can cut a man clean in half. If we start to get up nice and close, we can send over some of this. This is grape shot. 5 or 6 of these into an enemy mast will take it down. Ideal. For if we have learned anything from Trafalgar, it is that if the Napoleonic frogs cannot run away, they really are good for nothing. But if, however, we do get so close that we can smell the garlic and the cowardice, we can use this. This is canister shot. This contains between 50 and 61-pound shot. A broadside of this will change the enemy upper deck into porridge. But for the sake of the demonstration, let us assume that we use the 68-pounder. It takes 2 men to lift it up to chest height, to place it in the muzzle, and then for it to be rammed home with the rammer on the left. On the left and on the other side of this flexible line. Now the flexible line is here for if the gun doesn't fully recoil. The men do not have time to run the gun in, meaning to pull it backwards. Therefore, you take either the sponge or the rammer, you hook it in the end, you twist in the direction of the thread, it compresses and acts as a solid piece. As I've said before, the worming or the cleaning can wait till the next time she comes back all the way. Now we need to fit one of these. This is a grommet. You may feel perfectly still, but your inner ear is lying to you. This ship is afloat. We travel over 20 foot on the tide every single day. We are 418 foot in length and only 58 wide, meaning we heel considerably. And so, halfway through a gun loading procedure, we don't hear a rumble, 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 plop. We have added one of these. It is also rammed home with the rammer and wedges everything together. It does not jam the gun, it wedges it. Once that has been fitted, the gun captain grasps hold firmly of the gunner's prick. This here. This is then stabbed down into the vent hole there, which then stabs a hole in that linen charge that we have fitted. To create an explosive link between the interior and exterior of the gun, we fit a goose's quill, which is quite literally a goose's feather with the fluff removed and the hollow core filled with a very fine gunpowder. The finer the gunpowder, the larger the surface area. The larger the surface area, the faster the ignition. On top of that, we place an iron nipple, and on top of that, we place one of these. This tiny little thing is a percussion cap containing fulminated mercury. Outdated vessels, such as, I don't know, the Victory, have flintlocks and linstocks to ignite their guns. Both are affected by the damp. A chemical ignition is not. Thank goodness, because as a vessel we are surrounded by something that is famously rather damp. It is carefully placed on top and the hammer brought back to full cock. Now it is time to start manoeuvring the gun. Each gun crew is made up of 18½ men. The half man is not a midget, nor is it a child. It is one man shared between two guns, known as the mobile powder man, who runs the leather cartridges from here, either astern or forward to the gunpowder ports, those white plugs that sit on deck. They must now manoeuvre the piece by using the tackles, those rope pulleys on either side. This is no easy task. The gun itself weighs 5 tons. The carriage underneath, an additional ton on top of that. For you youngsters, look at it this way. The men must manoeuvre the equivalent of 3 fully grown elephants between them. And they do so on the most famous naval command of all, 2-6 Heath. Harking back to the days when it only took 2 men to manoeuvre a gun, number 2 and number 6. So to ensure none of you have fallen asleep, you will join me for that bit. I will give you the command 2-6, and you will reply with a very hearty heave. Is that understood?
Yes.
Or are we dead, ladies and gentlemen? Is that understood?
Yes.
2-6!
Yes.
Pathetic. What are you, Royal Marines? 2-6!
Yes.
2-6!
Yes.
2-6!
Yes.
2-6!
Yes.
The gun has been manoeuvred. The muzzle is on the exterior of the ship, and now we can start to aim the gun. The handspikes are brought down. These pieces up here that look like oversized chopsticks. They are brought down on either side of the gun, and it takes 4 men to heave them down. By doing so, they raise the cascable that pivots on the trunnions and then depresses the elevation of the muzzle. To increase the elevation, vice versa. To keep it in place, we have this. This is a coin. It doesn't look like a coin. It's not even spelt like the word coin. It comes from the French term meaning wench. You see, all of these gun carriages are of a French design. But they're not really doing much with them, so we might as well blast them to Kingdom Come with them instead. They're what we call a rear chock carriage. Instead of having 4 wheels, we've removed the back 2 and placed a chock on it that assists with the braking of the gun as she comes back. The coin is slid under the gun like so, keeping her at the correct elevation. Now a new piece of gunnery technique. Each gun can be pointed either 15 or 30 degrees on either side. It is far easier to adjust the broadside of 26-ton guns than it is one vessel that weighs 11,000 tons, displaces 9,210 tons of water, and can take an hour to come about in harbour. We may also align guns to their omega line. As you head astern and forward, the omega line fans, so we may converge the whole broadside midship 800 yards off. You are on board the first vessel in existence that can fire every single one of these guns at the same time, without, as we say, doing a Mary Rose. Luckily, as we weigh 11,000 tons, the 90 tons of strain that the guns will put on the armour does not affect the listing of the vessel. Let us assume that the call for concentrated broadside has been given. All guns now converge to align with the lead gun, number 9. The gun captain gives the command, "Ready!" He retreats back, holding the landing light so. The men face inboard. They drop their knees, the finger in the ear nearest, mouth open. As gunnery officer, I stand just here. Each gun is home to a squadron, that is 4 guns, each with a junior officer in command. They then turn to me, keeping an ear out as I give the command, minding your ears of course, fire! With that, the 6-ton gun recoils 6 foot at 30 miles an hour. The round shot exits the muzzle at 1,300 feet per second, taking just shy of 13 seconds to travel the 1¼ miles. The enemy ship, of course, take down their flag. They rip off the blue and the red section to fly their most famous flag, the white flag. But it is too late. The Warrior has sent a simultaneous broadside of 1,600 pounds of gunnery force, skimming between 30 and 40 times off of the water before hitting the side of their ship, putting more holes in the side of it than the cheese on their tables. And all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is done in the Royal Navy in 70 seconds. On board this ship, and this ship alone, we do it in 55. We are not just the fastest ship in the world nautically at 17 knots and a fifth, but by George, we are the fastest for gunnery as well. This broadside is devastation. This ship is the ultimate deterrent. And if Napoleon III dares put one web toe out of line, not only will he be met by the aggression of the Warrior, the might of our sister ship, the Black Prince, but with the full power of Her Majesty's Empire that almost consumes 1/4 of the world. We, the senior service, are the reason that you all sleep safe and sound in your beds at night with them on the right side of the channel. And it is the gosh darn reason why every young boy at the age of 14 will enlist into the senior service to do his family proud. This now brings us on to the end of the demonstration. As customary, we must all now come together with 3 mighty huzzas for Her Majesty Queen Victoria and Her Most Britannic Royal Navy. From the bellies, ladies and gentlemen, hip hip! Now the ship is yours to explore as you wish. Please do enjoy. My name is Lieutenant Carriage.